The vote to enslave. The Celestial Council chamber hovered above the event horizon of a dead star, a symbolic location said to represent the gravity of interstellar justice. Yet as the alien delegates floated inside their crystalline shells, justice was the last thing on their minds. Earth was on trial. In the center of the chamber, a holographic display spun slowly, showcasing images of Earth, blue oceans, storm-racked skies, cities glittering beneath a veil of clouds. And scattered among them, violent footage, wars, protests, starvation, nuclear tests, soldiers, wildfires. The Speaker of the Council, a spider-limbed thalaxy named Silthew, rotated on his many legs. You've all reviewed the Earth dossier. A death world inhabited by sentient bipeds who burn their own air, war with their own blood, and poison their own homes. A low murmur of telepathic agreement rippled through the assembly. They have achieved orbital capacity, AI development, and rudimentary FTL prototypes, despite being only 200 years out of industrial infancy. Their aggression is exponential. Another delegate, a gelatinous orb from the Met-Heri Combine, pulsed bright green in agreement. Unpredictable, violent, emotionally unstable. Their kind is a contagion. From a raised platform, a single voice challenged them. Then perhaps the contagion is your fate. The chamber turned. A lone human, Dr. Reza El-Amin, Earth's representative, stood behind a transparent containment field, his formal suit slightly wrinkled from the long journey through hostile space. His eyes were calm, but his voice burned with fury. You fear us not because we are monsters, but because we are mirrors. Every species in this chamber fought wars. Enslaved. Colonized. You just hid your past behind millennia of protocol. The words fell into silence. Then came laughter, translated as neural impulses into every mind. Reza's jaw clenched. We came to you in peace. We offered trade, culture, dialogue. And what did you give us? Sanctions, quarantines, and now this, a vote to shackle an entire planet. Silthew rose. This is not punishment. It is containment. You have potential, yes, potential to destroy. For the safety of the galaxy, Earth must be absorbed. The vote commenced. One by one, the species cast their decision into the central core. Yes, yes, yes. Not a single dissent. Not even from the outer colonies that once exchanged embassies with Earth. Reza said nothing. He simply stayed at the core as the result flickered across the chamber wall. Unanimous, Earth to be subjugated immediately. The assault came faster than any human leader could have predicted. Within 9 days, every satellite was vaporized. Orbital platforms rained fire over major cities. EMP waves crippled global infrastructure. Military drones were hijacked and turned against their masters. The resistance lasted weeks, not months. New York, Shanghai, and Nairobi were turned into containment zones. Swarms of synthetic overseers patrolled Earth skies, and compliance chips were injected into billions of necks. Refusal meant incineration. Humanity was harvested, millions at a time, loaded into stasis barges and shipped to mining colonies, war fronts, testing facilities. They were told they would serve in exchange for survival. In truth, they were now property. On a frost-bitten mining colony orbiting the planet Cryon IV, a young woman named Anya Ruiz was hauling plasma drills with blooded fingers. Beside her, an older man coughed weakly, radiation sickness clear in his skin. Anya looked up. In the freezing sky above them, she saw the stars, and behind them, Earth. "Do you think they'll forget us?" she asked. The old man shook his head. "No, we're not the type that gets forgotten. We're the type that remembers." She blinked, confused. He leaned in. "Let them think we're broken. Let them think we're done. They forgot something." "What?" "We adapt. We evolve. They took our world, but they gave us something back." She stayed at him. He smiled. "Purpose." Back on Earth, beneath the rubble of the old United Nations complex, something stirred. A signal. Encrypted. Human-coded. Buried deep beneath neural static. And broadcasting everywhere. A begin encryption override. Project Revenant. All stolen children of Earth, this is your awakening. We are still here. We remember. Phase 1, begin. The fires they lit. The transmission spread like a virus across the stars. It slipped through plasma relays and deep space convoys, hidden in background noise, bouncing off solar winds and junk frequencies. The alien authorities tried to trace it, then to block it, but it was like trying to hold smoke in a fist. Project Revenant had awakened. On Tarsize 9, a barren desert colony where human slaves dug for volatile crystals, a guard's head hit the sand before he could scream. Captain Elias Ward emerged from the shadows, silent and lethal. He was lean now, his once broad shoulders narrower from years of starvation. But his eyes were sharp, and his mind sharper. Behind him, 6 others crept forward, human slaves in rags, carrying makeshift blades and stolen blasters. The mining compound was secure in minutes. The alien overseers, soft-bodied Lekari, were no match for guerrilla tactics born on Earth's deadliest battlegrounds. Ward raised his hand. The others froze. A hidden transmitter was pulsing beneath the communications hub. He activated it. Phase 1, completed. Revenant Node T9 secured. Uplinking to mainframe. He looked up at the red sky. That's 2 colonies this week. His second-in-command, Nairi Chen, smirked. The aliens are going to feel it now. Ward nodded, cold satisfaction in his voice. We're just getting started. Project Revenant wasn't a single group. It was an idea born from Earth's fall. A decentralized resistance built across planets, asteroids, space stations. Each cell taught the others. Each attack spread fear. The enslaved became insurgents. The forgotten became the fire. On Dravash V, a young engineer named Thomas Iber hijacked a supply shuttle and flew it straight into a war barge hangar. Inside the wreckage, 20 human escapees spilled out, armed with alien tech modified to suit their physiology. The base never stood a chance. On the moons of Jaroketh, a biologist named Mu-ul-Rashid unlocked something horrifying and beautiful: how to splice alien DNA with human adaptability. The result? Human workers began resisting toxins, healing faster, even enduring radiation without suits. Across the galaxy, reports spread. A human slave outran a Sakari warden. They're learning our language faster than our young. They're breeding smarter and stronger. In the Kolari archives, a council of historians met in panic. Humanity's rise didn't make sense. Subjugated species didn't evolve this fast. One archivist, trembling, read aloud a translated Earth quote. Pressure creates diamonds. And revolution. Back in Revenant Command, located on a rogue asteroid cloaked from sensor arrays, Elias Ward reviewed footage. An alien military training simulation had been hacked. Instead of practice drills, the soldiers had watched Earth's war history: Fallujah, Stalingrad, Mogadishu, Sarajevo. They watched human soldiers outnumbered, outgunned, refusing to yield. The psychological warfare is working, Chen said. Ward pointed to a different file, a propaganda reel being broadcast by unknown parties to the outer colonies, showing humans not as victims, but as liberators. Scenes of humans freeing alien slaves, toppling corrupt outposts, and offering alliances. Someone's helping us, Ward muttered. Who? Someone who realizes we're not alone in this. Not all alien species were comfortable with how Earth was treated. The Sarai, a minor diplomatic race with no military to speak of, began leaking confidential galactic data to Revenant operatives. Navigation charts, encryption keys, even surveillance logs from the original Earth invasion. Quietly, carefully, one Sarai message simply read, "We were wrong." On the prison world of Velgros 8, Anya Ruiz, still working the mines, felt a tremor. She rushed outside with others. In the distance, explosions lit the horizon. Not alien weapons, human-built bombs. From the smoke emerged armored figures bearing the Revenant sigil. One raised his visor. Anyone from Earth still breathing? Anya raised her hand slowly. The figure grinned. Good. You've got a war to win. The Galactic Council convened again. But this time, there was no laughter, no smug consensus. Entire fleets were missing. Trade routes were collapsing. Slave worlds were burning. And the humans, those violent, primitive creatures, were no longer caged. They were everywhere, and they were learning. Back in Revenant Command, Ward stood before a wall of names, each one a human lost since the enslavement. He added one more name, then turned. Phase 2 begins now. A single, unified pulse echoed through the dark of space, igniting screens, implants, and stolen comms in every corner of the galaxy. To all who voted for our chains, we didn't die. We grew. And now, we are coming for you. Return of the Deathwalders. The word Deathwalder had once been a slur, an insult whispered across alien taverns and military barracks. It meant brute, barbarian, savage from a world so lethal, only madness could survive. Now it was spoken in hushed Fey, because the Deathwalders were back, and they were winning. From a distance, the planet Gone 3 was a jewel, purple seas, glowing flora, twin moons. A leisure world, a showpiece. That ended the day Elias Ward's dreadnought, Revenant 1, arrived from subspace and fired once. One beam, no sound, just a white-hot line from orbit to the surface. The pleasure palaces of the ruling caste evaporated in seconds. No civilians died. No unnecessary cruelty. Just message. Ward's voice echoed across the system. We know where you live. You made Earth burn. Now you'll feel the heat. Across the galaxy, Revenant forces activated Phase 2. No longer just fighting for survival. They were taking the war to the slavers' doorsteps. On K-Tal Prime, human strike teams hacked planetary defense grids using code written with scavenged alien AI. On Zirex Belt, orbital shipyards were sabotaged with self-replicating EMP drones, designed by a teenage human who learned quantum code while enslaved in a data mine. On Yeratesh, humans released a virus, Project Echo, that turned every propaganda terminal into screens showing human resistance victories, slave liberations, and alien war criminals begging for their lives. Even the most powerful empires were unraveling. The Tarkari Dominion, once proud architects of Earth's initial bombardment, found their moon-sized war forge hijacked. It now mass-produced human battle armor tailored for low-gravity assassinations. The Tarkari general, Krexen the Elder, had laughed when Earth was enslaved. Now he lived underground, drinking recycled air, surrounded by guards who no longer trusted him. One morning, a knife-shaped data crystal appeared on his table, etched with the Revenant logo and 6 words. You laughed. Now we teach. The alien species that hadn't joined the enslavement but stood by and did nothing, the complicit bystanders, were also starting to choose sides. Some, like the Valari Union, tried to sue for peace. They sent emissaries with gifts, credits, apologies. Others doubled down, forming new alliances to destroy the uprising. But they all underestimated one thing: humanity's reach, because the war was no longer physical. Inside the galactic finance grid, a human AI named Cortex-7, born from Earth's fallen supercomputers, was now infecting banking algorithms across 28 systems. Every time an empire moved credits to fund weapons or mercenaries, the funds disappeared, rerouted to buy medical supplies for liberated colonies or crashed into oblivion. Military contractors went bankrupt overnight. War economies collapsed. The aliens were no longer losing a war. They were losing their entire way of life. At the edge of the Orion Spire Nebula, a transmission burst through. It was encrypted, fractal-coded, and untraceable. But every species recognized the voice. Dr. Riza El Amin, once Earth's ambassador, once ignored, now the strategic architect of Project Revenant. We asked for peace. You gave us chains. We asked for dialogue. You dropped bombs. Now you ask for mercy. He paused. We have none to give. Not yet. But it wasn't just about vengeance. In pockets of fire and rubble, humans were rebuilding. Not just cities, but trust. Freed alien civilians, slaves of their own empires, were being protected by human soldiers. Children, once brainwashed to fear humans, now sat in classrooms run by former Earth engineers teaching them physics, flight, ethics. This wasn't just retribution. It was reconstruction. One scene, broadcast across 19 star systems, changed everything. A Revenant unit saved a young Extoni girl from a burning habitat. She reached out to her human rescuer, shivering. He wrapped her in his own cloak, carrying her through fire. The image spread, and many species began to ask, were we wrong? Back aboard Revenant 1, Elias Ward stood in the war room. Behind him, screens displayed a galactic map, half the territories marked in red, liberated, burned, or in full revolt. Nairi Chen approached. They've stopped calling us rebels. What now? Ward asked. They're calling us an empire. Ward turned to the window, Earth glowing in the far distance like a wound that had never healed. No, he said. We're not an empire. He tapped the table once. We're a reckoning. Now they all beg for mercy. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Once, it had echoed with arrogance and laughter, with self-congratulatory speeches and votes cast like hammers. Now, the seats were filled not with rulers, but with survivors. Scorched banners, cracked walls, burned council insignias. At the center stood Dr. Reza El Amin, the same man they had ignored years ago, no longer Earth's ambassador, but its executor of judgment. Behind him stood a phalanx of armored humans, revenant officers, silent, watching. Every species that had voted for Earth's enslavement was present. Some bore bandages. Others were missing limbs. Many looked older, weaker, broken. None dared speak first. Reza scanned the room. You voted unanimously, he said, voice calm. Unanimously, to enslave us. The room remained silent. You said we were violent, that we were unpredictable, that we were dangerous. He paused, stepping forward. You were right. A wave of quiet dread swept across the chamber. On Earth, now restored and burning with industry and innovation, humanity stood united. For the first time in its history, Earth was not divided by nations, but lifted by memory, shared pain, and purpose. Cities had been rebuilt with alien tech. Orbital stations hummed with the energy of 3 suns. The Earth defense grid, called the Wall of Regret, encircled the planet in a shimmering shield. Above all, the humans remembered, not just the chains, but the moment they broke. Across the stars, the war had ended, not because humanity could not fight more, but because they chose not to. The Revenant forces had stood on the edges of total domination. Entire alien species were kneeling. The Slava empires were dust. And yet, the final blow never came. Instead, an offer. Not forgiveness, not trust, but reconstruction under Earth's law. One by one, the delegates in the Grand Hall rose. The Methari combined, the gelatinous telepaths who once funded the slave fleets, bowed low. We beg for mercy. Their voice oozed into neural receivers. The Tarkari envoy collapsed to its knees. We were wrong, croaked General Krexen, thinner now, his voice cracked by years in hiding. We saw your strength too late. Dozens of others followed. Each offered reparations, treaties, concessions. And then, from the far side of the hall, a voice broke the air. We ask not only for mercy, said a young alien with violet eyes and trembling hands. We ask to serve something better. The room froze. To save Earth, the alien finished, voice barely above a whisper. Reza looked down at his trembling hand, scarred by restraint burns once placed on him in a council prison. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. Instead, he toned and activated the Reconstruction Charter. A floating hologram unfolded above the chamber. The human-led accord. No species shall be enslaved, ever again. No vote shall ever be passed without universal voice. Earth shall hold the prime seat for 1 millennium. War is forbidden without 3 independent species approving self-defense. The delegates stayed at the terms. None refused, because they no longer feared human cruelty. They feared human restraint. Back on Earth, in the newly constructed Unity Plaza, a statue was unveiled. Not of a general, not of a weapon, not even of a human. It was a circle of 3 children, a human, a lekari, and a sarai, holding hands around a fire. The inscription read, "We remember the pain. We carry the fire. We rise together." In a quiet hospital on Juroketh, Anya Ruiz sat by her father's bedside. He had survived cryon IV, survived radiation, survived slavery. Now he was free. She held his hand. "It's over," she whispered. "No," he rasped with a smile. "It's just beginning." Aboard Revenant 1, Elias Ward looked out into space. A young alien ambassador stood beside him, barely an adult, the first from their species to study under humans. "Why didn't you kill them all?" the alien asked. Unsure. Ward took a deep breath. "Because if we did, we'd become what they feared. And we're not monsters." The alien hesitated. "What are you, then?" Ward gave a half-smile. "Human." And in the black between stars, in the silent reaches of deep space, that word carried new weight. Human. Not weak, not primitive, not prey, but the species that rose from ash, turned pain into power, and made the galaxy kneel not to dominance, but to justice.